just wanna walk with you, Lord. Walk with you and talk with you every day.
Today's date is November 4th. Shabbat Shalom to everyone who will hear this message and those out there in YouTube land. Thank you for joining us today. So we're going to begin today with an illustration. There was something that Brother Craig had, the illustration he gave me that I thought was very fitting for the place that some of us are at right now in our life currently, and it made complete sense to me. And so I want to begin with an illustration, and I want to ask everybody, including those on the conference line, to close your eyes and visualize this, okay? So I want you to imagine that you're on a bus, and you're actually riding on this bus, and you're going to a destination. So let's say you're going on a trip. And while you're on this bus, you notice the trees outside on the highway as you're driving. You notice the clouds. You notice how everything looks outside. And then picture this bus stopping at certain places to get fuel or for you to get off and get food. And then getting back on the bus and still going on your journey. So this whole time you're on the bus, it's probably hours or so. And then eventually the bus actually gets to the destination or the place that you actually intended to get to begin with. So let's say, for example, you were going to from Dallas to Chicago, and you're going on the bus and you're seeing all these things outside as it's driving. You're going through hills, you're going through valleys, you may go over a few mountains depending on what route you take through Arkansas. But you eventually get to your destination, which is Chicago. And now you get off in Chicago, you get off the bus, and you're there now at your destination. Now, with all of that in mind, look at your life today. When you look at life, the bus ride is actually life itself. That's where you have your experiences while you're actually trying to get to your destination. And those experiences are ups and downs. Those experiences are hardship, they're joy, they're pain, they're sorrow. But the thing is that all of those experiences together is what composes your life. Your final destination is actually the kingdom. But the thing is, look at everything that you went through to get to the kingdom to begin with. That's the bus ride. So again, the bus ride is your life experiences, but the destination is the kingdom. You can open your eyes now. That is the illustration I wanted to begin with, because that's going to be fitting with what we're going to talk about today here in the Word. Because when we're on the bus ride of life, one of the things we have to remember is that the bus itself is actually the Most High. He's the bus. He's the one that's actually carrying us to the destination that we're trying to get to. So when we question in our life today and we ask ourselves, why am I here? Or why did I do certain things I did back in my life at a certain point earlier? Why didn't I make these decisions? Why am I not satisfied where I'm at today? Well, that's because you're on the bus ride. And the Most High is actually the bus. The Messiah is the driver of the bus. Because remember, the Bible speaks about everything being supported by the right hand of the Father. That's why he has to be the bus, because he's the one supporting you, that's actually carrying you. But the Messiah is the one that's the driver. So we have to examine how the Most High gets us to our destination, which is the kingdom. In order to do that, we're going to have to define some terms and really understand some things. And I'm going to try to do my best with the Lord's help to really explain this thoroughly. So first, we're going to begin with the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. That's the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. We're going to read verse 7. And I want to give a little background first. So in this chapter here, this is the time when the Israelites were in captivity to Babylon. And the Most High is actually giving a decree or a word to King Cyrus, who was the king of the Medes and the Persians. Because for those of us that know the story, the Medes and the Persians conquered the Babylonians. And then we ended up being in captivity to the Medes and Persians for a little while under Artaxerxes, and Xerxes is his son. All right? So, we're going to go down to verse 7. And I'm going to say some things here that may be kind of confusing for us, but I'm going to try to explain it thoroughly. The Most High is going to help me explain this, because it is actually written in the Word, and we need to understand properly what it is he's saying. So in verse 7, he said, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Most High, do all these things. Now, the first thing we should stop and think about is the Most High said that he creates evil. This is not a verse a lot of times that we ever mention. But we've got to explain this thoroughly, because he said he creates evil. He formed the light, created darkness, he makes peace, but he also creates evil. And then he emphatically says at the end of verse 7 that he does all these things. So then let's talk about this. We're going to break down this verse 7, because we're going to understand, when you look at the Hebrew language, the language is so vastly different than English. And if we'll recall, one of the curses that he spoke about in Deuteronomy was that he would bring a foreign nation against us that was cruel. And he even mentioned the fact that their language would be the language of a bastard tongue. It's somewhere he mentions that. So it would be a language we don't understand that's far different than the language our ancestors had. So we're going to define some things. So when he says, I form the light, we need to take a look at that word form. That's Hebrew 33:35. And it's pronounced yatsar. That's yatsar. And it means to form or fashion something for a specific purpose. As an example, imagine a coffee mug. What was a coffee mug formed to do? Well, it's formed in order to hold coffee or a beverage in order for it to drink it. That's its purpose. It's formed for the specific purpose of drinking something out of it. That's its purpose. Or when you think about a dish that you make to eat, such as candy yams, for example. You actually cook candy yams in order to eat it, right? To nourish your body. So my point is this: yatsar is actually meaning that it's something that's actually formed for a specific purpose. It's a specific purpose in mind when it's actually made. Now, when you look up yatsar, some other words that it's actually translated in the King James Bible is the word form, potter, fashion, maker, frame, make, former, earthen, and purposed. Now, I mention that because this is one of the reasons why I don't quite like the King James Bible, because the King James Bible does not properly, contrary to what we've been taught or what we may think, it does not properly convey to us in our English language what is exactly being said. All right? But that's what that word yatsar means when he said he forms the light. So that means that the light, when he said he formed the light, he's saying that the light was created for a specific purpose. But guess what? I'm going to show you something else that he said was created for a specific purpose, because it used that same exact word. Go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. That's the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, it says, And the Most High Power formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So, what does that mean then when he says he formed man? It's Yatsar, Hebrew 33:35. When the Bible says that in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7, it's specifically saying, if we were to break it down completely in English, that the Most High created man for a purpose. So here's the thing, you know that question we ask a lot of times when we say, I wonder if I was created for a purpose. Some people ask that question, or I wonder what my purpose was. Yes, if you did not know, you were created for a specific purpose. Because the word Yatsar, Hebrew 33:35 in Hebrew, means something created or formed for a specific purpose. Verse 8 of Genesis 2, and the Most High God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Genesis 2, verse 19, skip down to verse 19. It says, and out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. So, you know how sometimes we've said, I wonder why this creature was created. Why were cockroaches created? Well, now you know, emphatically, that the Bible says the cockroach was formed for a specific purpose. Now, just because we don't know what the purpose is does not mean that the Most High doesn't know, because he knows exactly why he created the cockroach. And I use the cockroach as an example. So now you see from that word Yatsar, Hebrew 33:35, means mankind was it's something that was created for a specific purpose in mind. And when he says Yatsar, he's talking about purpose at that point, which is a little different than create and make. See, we have to begin to separate Hebrew definitions and see how we would express them in English. Because remember, English is a bastard tongue, according to the Bible. So, I hope everyone got that. We're going to move forward. Now, he says that, back in Isaiah 45:7, he creates darkness. Now, see, here's the thing. We would think, in English, we would think that when he says, I form the light and create darkness, we would almost think that he's talking about the same thing. But actually, he's not. The word create in Isaiah 45:7 is Hebrew 12:54, bara. That's Hebrew 12:54, bara. And it means to cut or carve out or separate something in order to produce something else that is new. I'm going to say that again. Hebrew 12:54, create, bara in Hebrew. It means to cut, carve out, or separate something in order to produce something else that is new. So this implies that material is cut or carved out or separated from something that already exists. I really need everybody to hear this, okay? Because I spent hours looking at this and I was dumbfounded because this has been right there written the whole time without me understanding properly what it means. Again, I'm going to say that bara, Hebrew 12:54, it's material that's taken from something else that already exists, and then it's used to produce something else that is new. So as an example, the coffee mug again. When we talk about the coffee mug, the material that is used to make the coffee mug was taken from something that already exists. So let's think about something, clay, for example. Clay is taken from dirt primarily, water, and maybe a few other ingredients. But here's what you have to think about. The dirt and the water were already in existence. They were already here. So they were taken and then they were put in the form of a cup. It was put in an oven or a heat applied to it in order to make it a cup. Or let's think about candy yams, for example. The ingredients that you use to make candy yams. When it says here, bara, create, that's what you're essentially doing every time you make candy yams or any other dish that you're going to eat. Now, you may say, well, brother, it sounds just like the other word, but no, it doesn't, because it's similar, but it's not the same, because Hebrew 33:35, Yetzar, when that word is said, it implies purpose, a specific purpose in mind at that moment when it's said. Whereas here when it says create, Hebrew 12:54 bara, it means that you're taking materials that are already in existence and actually you're making them into something new that it was not before. So again, when you think about candy yams, you take the sweet potatoes, you take the butter, you take the sugar, you take the water, all those things that are ingredients that are in existence already before, that you make before you make the dish candy yams. I hope that I hope that actually is clearer. I know it's close, but it's not exactly the same, because when the Most High talked about man, he was talking about he created them with a specific purpose when he said formed. So again, when you look at Hebrew 12:54 bara, it's something that's carved out or taken from materials or ingredients, if you're talking about cooking, that are already in existence in order to produce something new. Now, I'm going to give you examples of how it's actually used in Scripture. So, let's go back to the book of Genesis, and Brother D has touched on this. And I wasn't quite sure until I really, really thoroughly researched this thing out myself. So, when we go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, the Elohim created the heaven and the earth. Well, guess what? That word created there is Hebrew 12:54, bara. This means that the material that he used for the heaven and the earth was taken from something already in existence. Now, I know that this is something that may be hard for some of us to get, okay, because it may step on our toes for certain doctrinal things we once believed or whatever it may be. But the fact of the matter is that word he created, Hebrew 12:54, bara, means that it's cut or carved out from something else. Let's think of a cheese ball, for example. When you make a cheese ball, you actually cut cheese from a block of cheese already in existence. And then you take that cheese, you set it to the side, and then you add whatever other ingredients to it to create a cheese ball. This is what the Most High did in Genesis chapter 1 and 1. But skip down to verse 27. Verse 21. It says, and God, or Elohim, created great wells, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after their kind. And the Most High saw that it was good. Then verse 27 in Genesis 1. And the Most High created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. So again, when it says created here, it's talking about he took the materials that are used to make us physically from something already in existence. Now, before someone says, no, brother, I don't know about that, let me remind you that the Bible says that the Most High formed us from the dust of the ground. Was not the dust of the ground already here? Yes, it was. So that's telling you that when it says bara, Hebrew 12:54, is telling you he really cut or carved you out the materials to make you from something that was already here in existence. Again, that's bara. So, back at Isaiah 45 and 7. He said that he created darkness. So now that you know what the word there for create is, Hebrew 12:54 bara, he's saying that the materials used to create, to make darkness were already here. Let's continue in Isaiah 45 and 7. He said, I make peace and create evil. Let's look at that word for make when he says he makes peace. That's Hebrew 62:13, and that's asa. Again, that's Hebrew 62:13, and that's asa. Guess what, everybody? this also is a different word from the two previous words that we defined. So let's break down what the word asa means. It means labor. Asa is the act of labor itself that is used in order to produce something. Hence, it's the manufacturing process. Let's go back to our example of the coffee mug. After you've taken the actual materials to make the coffee mug, now you have to do what? You have to manufacture the coffee mug. That is a laborious process. And today we know that some people still actually do create it with a spin wheel that they actually put clay on and create the coffee mug. But the thing is, most cups and dishes, for example, are actually made through a manufacturing process in a factory. The word asa there, when he says I make peace, he's saying that that's a laborious process that he actually labors to actually cause to come into being. So, for example, the coffee mug is being manufactured in a factory. All right, or when you look at candy yams, because that's the other example we use, you are cooking it on a stove or putting it in an oven. That's asa. That's the labor that it takes in order to make it its final dish. So again, when he says I make peace, he's saying that he's talking about the process that he uses to actually cause peace to come to being. That's what he's saying there. And again, the coffee mug being manufactured in a factory, or the sweet potatoes, the candy yams that are being cooked on the stovetop or baked in an oven. So again, you see that this time when he says make, it's different than the other two words that we used, that we actually looked at, correct? Yetzar and bara. See, that's what I'm saying. But when we look at this on face value, we don't think about all these intentions, but Hebrew is very concrete. And so Hebrew is a language that's actually created with purpose in mind to begin with. It's concrete. There's no abstractness to it. It's concrete. There has to be a concrete thought that it conveys. And we miss that in English because English is so abstract. But let's look at examples for asa. We're going to go right back to Genesis chapter 1. And we're going to look at verse 7. It says, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and so it was. Remember, what does asa mean? It's talking about the process of labor, the actual physical workings of causing it to become what it is supposed to come. Guess what else? Skip down to verse 11 in Genesis 1. And the Most High said, let the earth bring forth grass and herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding. That word yielding there is, guess what? Asa. Fruit after its kind. So let's think about a fruit tree. Does not it goes through a process of labor? The labor is when it's growing to produce the fruit that it's going to produce, correct? That's labor. That's asa. Skip down to verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit. Verse 16, and the Most High made two great lights. See how that same word is translated as yielding at one time and then made at another place? But look at verse 25 of Genesis 1. And the Most High made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind. So again, what is it showing? It's showing the labor process of the Most High creating those beasts. But look at what the Most High said in verse 26. And the Most High said, let us make man, asa, man, in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So again, it's telling us, when it says the Most High said, let us make man in our image, he's saying, let us labor. So the labor process is the process where he actually took the dust of the earth and formed it into a man. That the laborer's process of him doing that is what it's talking about in verse 26. So again, we see from the word asa that it's a manufacturing process. It's actually the process of labor to get something to be what it is you're making it to be. So go back to Isaiah 45 and 7. And now you should understand what he says when he says, I make peace. He's saying that it's a manufacturing process. And if it's a process, what does that mean? That means that it has to go through stages before it can actually become peace. Because it's work. Some other words that word asa is translated as in the King James Bible. Get this. It's translated as do, make, wrought, deal, commit, offer, execute, keep, show, prepare, work, do so, perform, get, dress, maker, and maintain. Now, why am I saying that? Why am I reading that to everybody? Because here's the thing. You're going to find out that Yetzar and Borah are also translated as some of those same exact words in the King James Bible. And it's going to be up to us to look it up every time it says make or to do or perform to find out what exactly is the Most High talking about. Now, you may say, brother, you started out talking about an illustration of being on the bus. And I don't understand how this relates. Oh, believe me, we're going to get to how it relates. We're going to get to it. So, when you see now what it means when he says he makes peace. Let's continue in Isaiah 45 and 7. It says, and creates evil. What's the word there for create again? Borah. Now this is where you really may get lost unless you really keep it, stay attentive. I'm telling you, we're going to get somewhere. Remember what I just told you Borah was? Hebrew 12:54? To cut, carve out, or separate something from something that is already in existence in order to make something brand new. So let that set in for a second. So what does that tell us about evil? It already exists. Now you may say, oh, wait a minute, brother. No, you lost me. Stay with me. Just stay where you're at. We're going to bring it all the way around. The Most High said himself, he creates evil. Well, brother, what is evil? Don't worry, we'll define what is evil in just a moment. But he's saying there that evil is already taken from something, it comes or is cut out, is separated from something that's already in existence in order to make something new that it was not before. So, he says he makes peace and creates evil. Now, what is the word for evil there? Well, it's Hebrew 74:51, and it's pronounced Ra. And this is one that we're going to all recognize very quickly, because it simply means bad, adversity, affliction, calamity, displeasure, distress, something harmful, something heavy, something hurtful, mischief, misery, something noisome, something that vexes, something wicked, something that's wretched, something that's wrong. Wait a minute, brother. So you telling me, wait a minute. Oh, I know, because some thoughts should be going off, because here's the thing. Each one of us have calamity, affliction, adversity. We're harmed. We're heavy. We're hurt. We have displeasure. There are some areas in our life where we're vexed in our spirits. And in some form or another, some people have done us wrong. We've been abused. Some of us have had very vicious and bad things done to us. And that's what the Bible translates as evil. So wait a minute, brother. Wait. You're telling me it's the Most High's fault? No, I'm not telling you it's his fault. What we are telling you, though, according to the word, it says that he creates evil. And when we break down that word creates, that means that it's something that's taken from something already in existence. Brother, you're losing me. Stay with me. Since evil, calamity, distress, this is something already in existence, we have to remember that that word they're used for create is bara. So if it's bara, that means the Most High is taking something in existence already, evil, calamity, affliction, and he's using it to produce something new. Let me say that again. He's taking something already here, but he's going to produce something new with it. Something that it was not before. Some people, I think, may be understanding where this is going. But I'm going to continue on to break it down. So, when it says that the Most High creates evil, bara, Hebrew 12:54, he's cutting it, carving it out, or separating it from something already in existence in order to produce something else that is new. What's an example of this? Well, in the beginning, Satan existed. And every day, Satan is used to afflict us, to bring calamity to us, to cause us distress, to harm us, to steal from us, to kill us and destroy us. And what does the Most High do with that? He uses that, something already here, to do what? To produce a new creature. So you know how we ask that question, we say, I don't know why I'm going through what I'm going through? Now you should know why. Because the Most High because the Most High created affliction. He bara affliction. Hebrew 12:54. Because the Most High, you have calamity in your life today. You have hardship. Things are not going your way. You're distressed. Because the Most High is using something that's already in existence, something already here, because he's trying to produce a new thing in you. So when you look at evil, it's actually for your good. I know, there was a movie called Vampire in Brooklyn, and some people may laugh because they know where I'm going to go, but there's a part where Eddie Murphy is impersonating a preacher, and he said, evil is good. And I remember the first time I watched that movie, I laughed because I said, no, it's not good. But you know what? When you break it down, when the Most High says he created evil, yes, it's actually for your good. Because he's using evil to produce something new in you. And all this time you thought, so you're telling me I'm going through all this because the Most High is using it to create something new in me? Yes, because you can't make it into the kingdom in your current state. You won't make it there. Remember the bus ride? See, that's life. And in life, we have evil things happen to us all the time. Every single day. And all the time, the Most High is using that evil to do something with us. So since we have these definitions down, what then is the Most High saying in Isaiah 45:7? He says again, I form the light, or I make the light for a specific purpose, and I create darkness. I take something, I make darkness from something that's already here. I make peace, asa. Again there, denoting that he labors, or he does a process in order to cause peace to come into existence. And I create evil, meaning I take something that's already here and I use it to produce a new thing. And then he says, I, the Most High Yahweh, do all these things. So again, each one of us right now are on the bus ride. And we're having multiple experiences on the bus ride. We're going through the hills. We're going through the valleys. We're seeing the trees. We make periodic stops to get fuel. We make periodic stops to get fuel, but we get back on the bus because we still have a destination. A race, if you will. And the bus is the Most High. And the driver is the Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah. And all these things, while we're on this bus ride, He's actually shaping, He's molding us, and He's actually trying to produce something in us that's new. And He's using calamity, evil, affliction, distress. He's using all these things. So then, why are you fighting against it? Because that's the next question that comes up. Because we're fighting. We're fighting against His actual... We're fighting, and whether we know it or not, we're actually rebelling against His order. Because He's trying to produce a new thing in you. This is why you have so much distress right now. This is why you're not where you want to be financially. This is why you don't have the job that you want to have. This is why you're not in that place in your career that you want to be. This is why you still have debt. This is why things are just simply not the way you want it to be. What does it say in Romans chapter 8? Let's go there. Romans chapter 8. Verse 29. It says in verse 29 of Romans chapter 8, for whom He did foreknow. Oh, wait a minute. Foreknow. He also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of His Son, that He might be firstborn among many brethren, whom He foreknow. So that means He had knowledge of you before you came into existence. Oh, wait a minute. Does that not go back into the words we just defined? Did He not say that He formed man? And remember, what do we say formed was in Isaiah 45:7? It's the same thing used in Genesis chapter 2 when it says that He formed man from the dust of the ground, meaning that He created you with a specific purpose. Yatsar, Hebrew 33:35. Look at that. Romans said He foreknew you. And that also goes back to Borah, Hebrew 12:54, where it says in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning He created the heaven and the earth. Or Genesis 1:21 and 27, when talking about the beast of the field and man. So it's saying that if He foreknew you, that means that you were already in His mind before you actually came into an existence. You were taken from something, even itself, when you were finally created, that was already in existence on the earth. But you were already in the mind of the Most High God before He actually made you a living, breathing creature, or as the King James translates, a living soul. What about 2 Corinthians 5:17? 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, in Messiah, he is a new what? Creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Whoa, wait a minute. Do we not understand that this goes right back to Borah? to carve out, to separate something in order to produce something else that is new? Genesis, again, 1:21 and 27. When he's talking about man and how he formed man and the beast. You were taken from something already in existence in order to create something new. And so it says in 2 Corinthians 5 and 17, if you be in Christ, you are a new creature. That also goes back to Asah, Hebrews 62:13. Because that implies that when you came to Messiah, that a laborious process took on. A laborious process began. You didn't just come into Messiah and just all of a sudden become new. The process of you becoming new is the bus ride, life. That's the process. So we're going through the process right now of becoming new. We're in the race. I really hope this is making sense, because I tell you what, I'm not this smart. And I'm telling you, the Most High gave this to me, and I researched this for hours because I could not believe this was here the whole time. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 15. That's the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 15. For in Messiah, Yeshua, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but a new creature. Paul said, being circumcised is nothing, and not having it is nothing, but only a new creature in Christ. That's what means something. But again, to get to you being this new creature, a laborious process has to take place. Think back to the bus ride for a moment. You're riding the bus. The bus ride itself is life. The Most High is the bus itself. The Messiah is the driver. And one of the songs of praise and worship we had from the brother singing the song, the hills and the valleys. He says, you're the God of the hills and the valleys. He says that there's no mountain that he could be at that the Most High did not already place him at. Let's get that again. He said there's no place in his life that he said he could be at that the Most High did not place him at. Remember, I'll remind you, Isaiah 45 and 7. He creates evil, affliction, calamity, because he uses evil to produce something new. And that's what we're fighting against. We're fighting against that process. But let's look at an example in the Bible also of this. We're going to go to the book of Jasher, chapter 63. And we're going to read verses 1 through 8. That's the book of Jasher, chapter 63, verses 1 through 8. And for those that don't have it, it's okay. I'm going to read it. Verse 1 in Jasher chapter 63. And in the 93rd year died Levi, the son of Jacob, in Egypt. And Levi was 137 years old when he died, and they put him into a coffin, and he was given into the hands of his children. And it came to pass after the death of Levi, when all Egypt saw that the sons of Jacob, the brethren of Joseph, were dead, all the Egyptians began to afflict the children of Jacob, and to embitter their lives from that day unto the day of their going forth from Egypt. And they took from their hands all the vineyards and fields which Joseph had given them, and all the elegant houses in which the people of Israel lived, and all the fat of Egypt. And the Egyptians took all from the sons of Jacob in those days. For those that want to know, this precepts with Exodus chapter 1. Verse 3 in Jasher chapter 63. And the hand of all Egypt became more grievous in those days against the children of Israel. And the Egyptians injured the Israelites, and the children of Israel were wearied of their lives on account of the Egyptians. Evil is weariness. Verse 4. And it came to pass in those days, in the 102nd year of Israel's going down into Egypt, that Pharaoh, king of Egypt, died, and Malol, his son, reigned in his stead, and all the mighty men of Egypt, and all that generation which knew Joseph and his brethren, died in those days. Remember Exodus 1 talks about a new king coming that did not know Joseph? Now you know that was Pharaoh Malol. His name is actually different in historical context. I forget what it is, but it starts with an S or a P. All right? Because he's the only Pharaoh Malol that is known to have reigned for 94 years. And secular history has a record of him. But his name in secular history is different than what the Bible calls him in Jasher. But he's the only king ever to rule for 94 years. So it's easy for us to pick him out when we go through history. Because his son that reigned after him reigned only a short time, which is consistent with the book of Jasher story about his son that came after him. That's a side note. But anyway, verse 5, and another generation rose up in their stead, which had not known the sons of Jacob, and all the good which they had done to him, and all their might in Egypt. Therefore all Egypt began from that day forth to embitter the lives of the sons of Jacob, and to afflict evil them with all manner of hard labor, because they had not known their ancestors who had delivered them in the days of the famine. But verse 7, this is where it should hit home for us. And this was also from the Lord. Let me read that again. And this also was from the Most High. Wait a minute. Did we not read in Isaiah 45:7 that he creates evil? And did we not define what evil is? Affliction, oppression, weariness, something that's hard, something that's wrong. Verse 7, again in in Jasher 63. And this was also from the Most High for the children of Israel, to benefit them in their latter days, in order that all the children of Israel might know the Most High, their Elohim. So wait a minute, brother. Are you telling me that the Most High created evil? He's taking something that's already here and using it to produce something new. Remember we defined the Hebrew word there? Hebrew 62:13? Asah? See, I'm trying to make it all come together home for us. Because we need to stop asking these questions saying, well, why am I going through this? I don't know why the Most High just won't change this. He won't change it because you won't change. Because you won't conform to his image. Because you won't change and conform to the image of his son, the Messiah. That's why you're still going through it. Because you won't change. But he says in verse 7 of Jasher 63, and this was from the Most High. So, let's stop. You're in debt. Yeah, this is from the Most High. You're sick. Yes, this is from the Most High. Your family don't like you. Yes, this is from the Most High. You don't have a job. Yes, this is from the Most High. You don't have the career that you want. Yes, this is from the Most High. Oh, I'm telling you, I feel the Spirit of the Most High all on me today with this. I'm telling you, this is one of those things. If you were out target practice right now with bottles, we will be all the bottles being knocked down by the target, being knocked down by the gun. Because this is speaking to us all, even me. Because see, what you have to understand is that this week, earlier in the week, I was kind of, I won't say depressed, but I was a little down about a few things. And, I talked to Brother Craig, and Brother Craig gave me the illustration about the bus ride. I didn't know that the Most High was going to take that illustration, though, and show me in the Word something deeper. Because here's the thing, Brother CJ is not telling you why you're having problems. The Bible is telling you why you got problems. Because and then the Bible even gives us an example with the Israelites being in Egypt. And this was from the Most High, verse 7, for the children of Israel. If it's for something, what does the Bible say? If God be for us, who can be against us? Yeah. So you don't have a job right now because God is for you. You're in debt right now because God is for you. Things are going bad in your relationships because God is for you. You have pressure on the job because God is for you. And what's He's trying to do? He's trying to conform you into the image of His Son. He's trying to make you that new creation, that new creature. I'm going to read verse 7 again in Joshua 63. And this was also from the Most High. Y'all know me. Y'all know I'm redundant because it's got to sink in. It's got to sink in. For the children of Israel to benefit them in their latter days. So I want you to take children of Israel out and say, this is for Justin. This is for Craig. This is for Anthony. This is for Sally. This is for Virtue. This is for Merlene. This is for Masawar. This is for Sally. This is for Linnell. This is for Nikki. This is for Tara. This is for Jasmine. This is for CJ. This is for Dark. To benefit us in our latter days. Well, brother, I'm already old in age. To benefit all of us in our latter days. And why? In order that the children of Israel, no, let's take that out. In order that we might know the Most High, our Elohim. Oh, Donica, I didn't forget about you either, sis. Yeah, you too. And this was from the Most High for all of us to benefit us in our latter days, in order that we all may know the Most High, our Elohim. See, we've talked about it before, but you don't never know the Most High until you go through problems. That's when you find out who He is. And see, He's busy laboring, bara, the laborious process. Let's put ourselves in the place of the, let's just take man altogether. Man was taken from something already in existence. Let's compare it to the candy yams. The yams were already here. The butter was already here. The sugar was already here. The cinnamon was already here. The vanilla was already here. The dust to use to make man was already here. Most High is putting it together, taking it from a substance already here, putting it together, forming it, and then the process of Him forming it or cooking the yams is the part where He's actually making it. That's the asa, the laborious process, right? That's the time when we're going through life, going through our hardships, because He's taking evil, affliction, all these things, hardships, and He's using that to actually create in us a new creature that we might know Him. See, it's during that process that we're going through this. It's why we're on that bus ride, having those experiences in life, going through those hills and valleys, that we're getting to know who He is. Because to a certain point, we still don't know Him. And He's still trying to get us to know Him. Joshua 63 verse 8. And in order to know the signs and mighty wonders which the Lord would do in Egypt on account of His people Israel, in order that the children of Israel might fear the Most High Elohim of their ancestors and walk in all His ways, they and their seed after them all the days. Again, put it back on us. And I'm going to read verse 7 again. And this was from the Most High for all of us, to benefit us in our latter days, in order that we all might know Him, and in order that we might know His signs and His wonders. And don't get me wrong, I'm not replacing Him in anything. I'm not taking away from the word. But we can put ourselves in the example of the Israelites there. It says that what He would do in Egypt on account of His people Israel. Let's say what He would do in America on account of us, in order that we might fear Him. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. that we, all of us, may fear the Most High Elohim of our ancestors and walk in all his ways, not our ways, us and our seed, our children, after us all the days. Gave you the example from the scriptures, everybody. This is what's going on. So, the Most High is taking existing situations to change them for our benefit. And again, it says these things that our ancestors went through were from the Most High. So all your problems, all the things you're going through, remember, it says in Isaiah 45:7, he says he does all these things, including, I remind you, creating evil. So, from this day forward, if we ever have a question to wonder why we're going through this, from the Bible, you know. He's trying to mold you into a new creature. He wants you to know him. And he's doing it so that you might fear him and your seed after you all your days. So why are we fighting so much against him for what he's doing? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18. That's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18. And we're going to read verse 6. O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter? Saith the Most High. Behold, as the day is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel. Let's read that again. O house of Israel, cannot I, the Most High, do with you as this potter? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel. The Most High is the potter. We are the clay. And when you think of that coffee mug, you can take that clay and make it into any shape you like. You don't have to make it a coffee mug if you want. You can make it a vessel for holding water, a pitcher, if you will. You can make it whatever it is that you want to make it. So see, here's the thing. Our fighting against him is futile. It's futile because we're the clay. But brother, you don't understand. You don't understand how hard this is for me. Yes, I do. You know why? Because I've been through hard situations, and I'm going through some hard situations. Yes, I do understand. I may not be going through exactly your same situation, but I'm going through something hard for me. Life isn't just easy for me, but he's the potter, and I'm just the clay. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 45. Isaiah chapter 45. And let's look at verse 9. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Craig, woe to you if you strive with your maker. Merlene, woe to you for that. CJ, Anthony, Tara, Masawar, Justin, Donica, Virtue, Jasmine, Dark, woe to you if you strive with your maker. Linnell, Nikki, woe to you, Sally, if you strive with your maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what makest thou, or thy work? He hath no hands. Are we going to say to the Most High, you don't know what you're doing? Is that what we're going to say? Well, he tells us, woe unto him that striveth with his maker. And do you know what that word woe means? It says of threatening. Alas. It's an admonishment. So the Most High is serious when he says, woe, be forewarned, you who strive with your maker. See, you know what we need to do? We need to give up the ghost. And I don't mean by dying. We need to give up that ghost that's us trying to control and rule our lives. We need to surrender. Because he's telling us, woe to you if you're going to strive with me. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what makest thou, or thy work? He had no hands. Again, I know that we're going through hard situations. I know that they're uncomfortable. But who is it that actually creates these things? Verse 7 again, same chapter. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Most High, do all these things. But it's for our good, though. See, that's the thing, it's for our good. And see, here's the thing. That's not saying that the Most High actually makes someone do something bad to you. Because remember, we defined that word create when it says he create evil. It's the same word in Genesis 1:1 when it says he created the heaven and earth. It means he took something that already was there, or something that that happened, and he's using that to produce something new. I say that because here's the thing. Some of us have had vicious things done to us. Some of us have been sexually abused. I'm not telling you. The word is not telling you that the Most High caused those people to sexually abuse you. So I want to say this to make sure we understand this completely. No, the Most High did not make them do that. Satan came in that person and filled that person and caused them to do that to you, because the Most High does not do that to people. But he does take that experience and he does use it to shape and mold you into the image of his Son. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but there's a scripture that talks about what the enemy meant for bad, the Most High meant for good. What the enemy, what Satan does to us through other people, the Most High takes for our good. So you may have been sexually abused. You may have been hurt, by people physically or emotionally. Sometimes they can do things that even hurt us spiritually. But the Most High, when it says he creates evil, he takes evil. He takes those things that are already in existence, that are already here, that have already happened to you, and he turns it around for your good. Why? Because again, like we read there in Romans 8:29, and 2 Corinthians 5:17, and Galatians 6:15. Because he's trying to turn you into something new. That's what it means there when it says he creates evil. He's taking something from something already in existence to make something new. You can't go into the kingdom in your current state. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, actually. You can't go into the kingdom. We cannot go into the kingdom in our current state. Even physically, we can't even. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. That's why he has to give us new bodies. Is this all making sense for us? I know this is a little bit deeper than I would do, but I'm telling you, I went the way the Most High was leading me to go with this lesson. This is very important. We got to get this. Because your problems are there because the Most High is using them to mold you and shape you. This is for your good. Let's think about something. If the Most High had never allowed the affliction, the evil, to come upon the children of Israel in Egypt. Would they have ever left? No. Because why? They would have been comfortable. And the Most High does not allow us to be comfortable. Because when we're comfortable, we stay where we are. And when he when he allows us to be off balance, that spurs us to action. So, Brother Craig, you're off balance right now. Tara, you're off balance. Anthony, you're off balance. Justin, you're off balance. Donica, you're off balance. Masawar, you're off balance. Sally, Linnell, Nikki, CJ, Virtue, Jasmine, you're off balance. Because the Most High does not want you to be comfortable. You're off balance. You're experiencing evil, affliction. Just like the children of Israel did. Does not the Bible says that these things were written aforetime for our learning? These examples of the Israelites are for our learning. He didn't allow them to be comfortable, and I'm here to tell you now, he's not going to allow us to be comfortable either. Because we're never going to do anything as long as we're comfortable. So again, the Most High is not the one that calls someone to sexually abuse you or to do something vicious to you. But it says that he created evil in the sense that he's taken something that's actually there, and he's going to use it to mold you into that new creation. That creation that's conformed to the image of his Son. And is this not what we said we wanted? We said we wanted this, but when the affliction came, we didn't want it anymore. Because the thing is, when we looked at it and saw that this relationship with him, this thing was going to be relationship, give and take. Oh, we wasn't expecting him to actually expect something back in return. Oh yeah, he's expecting something in return from you, from us. He's expecting you to not fight against him while he's molding and shaping you to become conformed to the image of his Son. So again, Isaiah 45:9, woe unto us if we strive with our Maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what makest thou? Or thy work, he hath no hands? Most High is asking a question. Let's stay in the book of Isaiah. We'll go to chapter 64. Book of Isaiah, chapter 64. And we're going to read verse 8. But now, O Most High, Yahweh, thou art our Father. We are the clay, and thou our potter. And we all are the work of thine hand. And you know what's interesting about that? We're literally the work of his hand. In the image of God created he them, male and female. We literally are the work of his hand, physically. And he is trying to mold us spiritually also into the image of his Son. He's still working. He's still molding us. Again, verse 8, but now, O Father, thou art our Father. He's our Abba. We are the clay, and thou our potter. And we all are the work of thine hand. Are we going to continue fighting against the potter? Do we still really need to know why things are not easy for us? Why we have affliction in certain areas? Because he's the potter. We're the clay. Because some point we got comfortable. And he says, no, I'm not allowing you to be comfortable anymore. You can't be comfortable because you'll never go do anything. You'll never be a person of action if you're comfortable. You'll always stay in where you are because that's comfortable for you. There's no challenge there for you. So you won't change. So guess what I'm going to do, saith the Most High? I'm going to allow every sort of evil to come into your life until you quit striving with me, your Maker. until you fall in line and surrender. Because you've been bought with a price, and that not of your own. I own you, saith the Most High. I am your maker, and I can do whatever I want to do with the things I made. When we think about a television, somebody actually created that television for a certain purpose. Is that correct? They yatsar'd that television. Hebrew 33:35, remember? They formed it for a specific purpose, to show you a vision, or really for someone else to tell you their vision. But they also, when you look at a Sony television, Sony also borrowed that television, because they took materials that were already in existence and made it into something new. They made it into a television. That means they took the metal, the plastic, and all those things, and they put it together to create something new. They cut it out. They carved it out. They separated it from something that already existed, formed something new. As were you. And then they also asad it. Hebrews 60:13, because they created it through a laborious process that we call manufacturing. They did this in a factory somewhere in Asia, China. And then it came back to America to us, and now we see a television. We don't see the process when they actually went and gathered the raw materials. We don't see the process that they actually did put the raw materials together and form different pieces, and then put the pieces together to form the television through manufacturing. That's what the industrial age was all about. It was about the process of manufacturing something and mass producing it. The Most High mass produced us. And then he said in his order of a creation, Asa, which is still being done today, believe it or not, because this is how people have babies. The laborious process is still going on. When he talked about the fish, he said, let the earth bring forth. He asad. He caused Asa, Hebrews 60:13, to be constantly performing, and is still performing today. But you are being asad as well, because you are going through a manufacturing process. You are going through production to be made into the image of his Son with many brethren. So let us go to Matthew chapter 13. That's the book of Matthew, chapter 13. And we're going to look at something the Messiah himself said. Matthew chapter 13, verse 36. And this was something that the Messiah said when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Verse 36. Then the Messiah, Yeshua, sent the multitude away and went into the house. And he said unto his disciples, declare unto... You know what? Hold on one second. Bear with me just 1 second. I'm sorry. That's not the verse there. It's Mark. I'm sorry. Book of Mark. Chapter 13. I'm sorry. It's the book of Mark, everybody. Chapter 13. And bear with me just 1 second. Let's see here. Actually, it's not there either. Where was it? Bear with me just 1 second, everybody. Pause for just a moment. I'm going to get it. And the reason why I'm looking at this is because you have to see what the Messiah himself even said in the midst of his actual battles there. Basically, I'm looking for the place where he said, if were your will, Father, take this cup from me. He said, but not my will, but let your will be done. That's the scripture I was looking for, and I'll find it here in a little bit. But my point is to look at his example. He said, not my will, but let your will be done. So the Messiah can actually say that is actually Mark 14 and 36. Mark 14 and 36. So let's go there for a moment. Mark chapter 14, verse 36. That's again the book of Mark chapter 14, verse 36. I knew I was around there. And he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible unto thee. Take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what thou wilt. See, some of us right now praying, Father, please help me get a better job. But he has you on the current job right now, because that's where he wants you at right now. Father, take away this strife that I'm going through with my family. Take away, Father, this evil, this distress that I'm going through. But he's not going to take it away. Haven't we learned by now that the Most High never just takes it away? Don't we always have to go through the hills and valleys? And whoever's on the conference call there, mute your line, please. Can you mute your line on the conference call? But anyway, he never takes it away. We always have to go through it. Always. When you look back at every single challenge you've ever had in your life, you had to go through it. The Most High is not just going to take it away. So it's not our will, but his will, because, again, as it says in Isaiah 64 and 8, he is our Father. He is our potter, and we are his clay. And he can do whatever he wills to do with his clay. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. It's the book of Romans chapter 8. And we're going to read verses 24 on down. In Romans chapter 8, verse 24. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. So here's the thing. If you always see the way that the Most High, if you always see everything, then you don't have hope. Because faith is the substance of things unseen. That means that's that time in life where you don't know what the way is going to be. You don't know how the way is going to come. That's what he's talking about. If you can see it, then it's not any more hope anymore. Or even as the Bible says, you know what I mean, the faith is the substance of things unseen. See, here's the thing. Let me give you an example. If you need $200 to pay your light bill, and you already know someone's going to give you the $200, where it's no longer faith anymore. It's no longer hope. You already see where it's coming from. But it's when you don't know where the $200 is going to come from to pay the light bill. And I use that just as a simple example for any person hearing this to understand. It's when you don't know where it's coming from. That's when it's faith. That's when it's hope. Paul said, for we are saved by hope. That means we're not saved by something we can see. But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for it? He's saying if you already see it, then you have no reason then to hope for it. You have no reason to have any faith anymore for it, because you already see it. Verse 25. But if we hope for that which we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. I remind you back in the example of Jasher 63, virtue, that The Israelites didn't see how they were going to be brought out. But as it says in Jasher, that affliction, that evil from the Egyptians, this was from the Most High, that they might know him and fear him, them along with their seed. Brothers and sisters, and those out there, our brothers and sisters out there in YouTube land, we're going through what we're going through because the Most High is trying to mold us and shape us and create in us a new creature. We can't stay any longer like the old creatures. We have to surrender. We're the clay. He's the potter. And he has the right to do with us whatever he so chooses. If we can see the way out, then we no longer have faith. Because faith by definition is when you cannot see it. Hope by definition is when you cannot see it. Again, faith is the substance of things unseen. And like Paul said in Romans 8:25, but if we hope for that which we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. So, when are you going to have better relationships? When are things going to be worked out in your family life? When you surrender and endure it with patience. For the race is not given to the swift. He who endures until the end shall be saved. We have to endure to the end. We're on the bus ride right now. The bus ride is life. And all of our experiences, all the sights that we see while on the bus ride, the hills that we go through, the valleys we go through. And as the song reminds us, there's no hill or valley we can go through that the Most High didn't already place us in. What did David say? Though I may go through the valley of the shadow of death. And here's the thing. We did a lesson on this, the whole thing about Psalms 23, because the whole chapter is a lesson in and of itself, if you're really paying attention to it. Though I may go through, but he did go through. See, David did say, though I go through. Some of us don't want to go through. We just want it taken away. But David said, though I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. What did Isaiah 45 say? The Most High creates evil. I, the Most High, do all these things. David said he won't fear it. Why? Because he knows that the one who created it, the one who is taking it to use it to mold him and shape him, is in charge of it. Do we remember the lesson that we did about life challenges or faith opportunities? Remember the bulldog we talked about? Remember the bulldog is on a leash? The bulldog is Satan. He's on a leash. Who's holding the leash? The one who created the bulldog. That's why he couldn't go to do anything to Job unless the Most High allowed him to. And all he did was bark. But when a dog barks at us, it's fearful. It is. I'm going to tell y'all a true story. I got actually chased by a dog earlier in the week. A stray dog that came in the neighborhood, and he chased me on the bike. And I didn't even know he was chasing me at first because I had my headphones on while riding. And then I looked around, I saw the neighbor's dog, who was a nice dog, and then the bulldog was actually chasing me, barking. And but interesting thing about that is that, we're talking about the bulldog being on the leash. The neighbor's dog, that's a nice dog, actually cut the pit bull off from actually grabbing at my leg. Again, providence of the Most High. He used another dog, to keep me safe, because I didn't even know the actual pit bull was right there. I didn't even know it because I had my headphones on. Now I'm gonna tell y'all a true story. Now I got a baseball bat and a BB gun because I'm planning on putting some pellets in that dog if he comes back around. Again, because he's vicious. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. But my point is this. Is that David said he would fear no evil. Bless you. Because thy rod and thy staff comfort me. David knew who was in control over the evil. Because we already say it, nothing can happen to us unless the Most High allows it to happen. Evil. See, we need to think about all this. And we need to go back and listen to that lesson again. Verse 26 of Romans 8. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities. So he's telling us that the Spirit of the Most High helps us even while going through the evil that we're going through. For we know not what we should pray for, as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. But the question comes back to, how much time are you spending with the Spirit of the Most High? How much time are you really spending with Him? Because if you're not spending any time with Him, then He can't help you. Verse 27. And He that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because He maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of who? Or the mind of the Most High. Not your will, not our will, but His will. Again, when the children of Israel were embittered with evil from the Egyptians, this was from the Most High. The evil that you are embittered with, this is from the Most High. He has allowed this to be there because He wants to mold you, the clay, into the image of His Son. You are on the bus. He is the bus. The Messiah is driving the bus. Verse 28. And we know that all things, no, brother, some things, no, all things work together for good. This is why David didn't fear evil. This is why he didn't fear it. All things work together for good to them that love Him, God. Again, what was the word we broke down there? Back in Isaiah 45 and 7? Asah, the laborious process itself used to produce something. See, I hope everybody can see all this goes together. We are in a process. That's why the bus ride is so fitting for this illustration, because life is a process. Again, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called according to His purpose. His purpose, not our own. Verse 29, for whom He did foreknow, there that word foreknow is again, He also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of His Son, that He might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom He did predestinate, them He also called. And whom He called, them He also justified. And whom He justified, them He also glorified. What shall we say then? What shall we then say to these things? If the Most High be for us, who can be against us? I'm going to say that again. If the Most High be for us, who can be against us? So in summary, yes, again, we're all experiencing evil right now in some way, or some form. And it doesn't matter how hard or how difficult that evil is. The Most High creates evil. He allows affliction and pain and heartache and bad things to happen. See, we need to really know who our God is, because we never talk about this thing about him in Isaiah 45 and 7, Him taking evil and using evil for our good. See, the thing is, I remember when I first heard the scripture in Isaiah 45 and 7, where it said He created evil, I was like, whoa, wait, what a minute. And I remember I just was dismissive about it. But we need to know our God. Because this is the same God that allowed Job to lose his homes, lose his daughters, have health problems. But in the end, when you start reading the book of Job, chapters 39 through 42, the Most High starts asking Job questions. And Job had to say to himself, my mouth is shut before the Most High. I cannot say one thing. Because the Most High questioned Job and said, where were you, Job, when I set the boundaries of the oceans? Where were you when I actually formed the clouds? Where were you when I caused the rain to come down? When I told it how much the rain to come down, and when I told it when to stop? Where were you? Where were you when I created Leviathan? And do you actually think that any hook that you could ever take is going to actually influence Leviathan? Most High is asking us questions today. Do we know it all, or do he know it all? Does he know it all? Is he not all wise? Does the Bible not say who can counsel him? So look at your lives today. Let us all look at our lives today. With all the evil going on in them. Can we counsel the Most High on what he's doing in our lives? No. We're not, we can't even come close. Again, can the thing created say to his maker, what are you doing? No. So, I hope this brings clarity to us to understand why we have the evil that we have in our lives. We need to realize that we're going through that process of Asa. That process of Asa. Hebrews 62:13. That laborious process, because he's working on us, conforming us into his image. We need to surrender our wills over to him, because as the Bible says, it's not our will, but it's his will that shall be done. And the Messiah, the greatest example we have throughout all the scriptures, said, not my will, but let your will be done, Father. With that, thank you all for listening. Shabbat Shalom to everyone, especially those out there in YouTube land.